on the Euphrates. When you believe that, and reality hits, reality is horrible. So I think this is all coming, kind of coming home to roost. He was extremely arrogant in this news conference. He referred to people at one point as ordinary Americans, which is something a king would say, not a president. He was snapping at the questions. He was likening the actions of Congress to his daughters doing their homework. People are not going to, this is not going to go well.
Every time he tries to draw an analogy, it always backfires on him. Everyone, how my daughters manage their homework, or this whole car thing. He's on this stupid car analogy that every time he opens his mouth about it, it just goes nowhere. We just can't have government by analogy. It just never works.
It's his state, of course.
What about Michelle Bachman, by the way? Is anybody in this room just like, what? How is this happening?
Wow, what? Like, you can't believe that she
came out of nowhere. She had a great performance in that debate. No, I gotta admit, she was very good in that debate.
I was living in Minnesota when she first made her rise back in the
she was
late
in the legislature,
80s, when she showed up at the Sheraton Airport Hotel for the Minnesota Republican State Convention. And she was just, a woman, and she kind of wowed him there. And, whatever you think about her, and they're going to try to put the Palin treatment on her for sure. They already are. She's a real deal. You don't get to be a federal tax litigator, by being stupid.
Maybe I've just seen the bad interviews then, because you're kind of describing a completely different person from what I've seen.
Well, maybe they're only showing you the bad interviews then, don't you think?
Well, kind of. Maybe if you have a bad interview, that's
have you ever
kind of like
sat down and listened to her on any radio show, on any national radio show?
I have, and I've seen a lot of great things that she said, but when she is hit with a question she doesn't want to answer, it's just very awkward, a moment on TV. and I'm like, wow, how can you not be prepared for that?
Really,
Wow.
what
kind of
legitimate, these person's going to say, hey, are you a flake?
Yeah, but she's talking about all these inconsistencies.
If she was a flake. No one asked Nancy Pelosi if she was a flake, and they're two well-known flakes.
and so to a degree, her reaction even there, you might say, was not good, but I think it was telling as well. It's like, come on, get real. Why in the world would Bill Clinton ever answer the question, boxers or briefs? Tell me what the heck that has to do with running of America. And so, these people who think that's the more substantive answer than talking about what we're going to do on Medicare.
And look what CNN did in their debate in New Hampshire, where they had an opportunity to really get a serious conversation going.
Yeah. Pizza Hut or Domino's.
Yeah, right. Sauce on the side or extra sauce on top. Really, is this what it's come down to?
But the problem is that the candidates participate.
Well, yeah, that's the other part. They should say
a stupid thing.
They should say, "Are you kidding me? Why don't you ask me a real question, dude? Yeah. Ask me something of substance."
Or just answer it that way.
Is Michelle Bachman, can she go all the way? Does she have the distance?
I don't think she can.
Why not? Because the Palinization will happen?
No.
Or because of something about her?
No, I look at it different. Of course, I obviously can be wrong many times. But, people say, well, she's fresh and all this other stuff and talks great, has great ideas. But we kind of went with inexperienced. Really, what is her experience in terms of saying, gee,
she is like Obama in your eyes? Robert, you would disagree because you would say she's come up and actually earned her.
I would say that she's earned her stripes and she's earned her right to be in the race. Can she win? Don't know. I think, piggybacking on the judge's comment, her fellow Minnesotan Pawlenty may be a better choice simply because he's had the experience. I'm not saying he's the guy. I'm not saying
horrible.
That. I understand that. But if you look at the whole field out there ain't one of them that's any good. Herman Cain is the only guy.
Every one of them is better than Pawlenty.
Well, Herman Cain is the only guy that I really think that I like.
Let me go back to Michelle, though. I think the Republicans would make a mistake to say, trust us. We have someone who's relatively inexperienced. Trust us as you trusted Obama. I think you want someone who has executive experience. You want someone like a former governor or any of those things like that. But somebody that can demonstrate that for 8 or 10 or 12 years, they had to answer the tough questions. They were faced with unique situations,
right,
and they handled it all well. Maybe not perfect, but they handled it all well.
I hear a number of people, of our generation, over 50 say, give me somebody with gray hair. Give me somebody who's been
Sure.
around the block.
Sure.
No more of these other guys.
I agree.
All right, pull on your headphones. I have the guy. I'm going to tell you right now, I feel like all that we're doing, all these debates, all these interviews, all these people declaring candidates, we're wondering about Rick Perry. I know the guy. I know the guy we need.
That somehow this is a bunch of people on, golf courses and Lear jets, being this type of democratic misinformation, which really is only there to mask the real agenda, which is just to increase taxes in an irresponsible way. And, let me say this too. I don't think all Democrats are in favor of this, even though they don't vote. A lot of things happened last week or two that forced those votes, and we all know. But I think there's a lot of Democrats out there who understand they want a path to economic recovery. We're seeing increased revenues in the state. The last thing they want to do is start driving people out of the state like they did from 2004 to 2008 when $70 billion went out of the state.
All right. So, he says, I'm not running. What do I have to do? Do I have to kill myself to convince you I'm not running? I'll tell you what. Check with me next summer. This is your guy.
You may be very well right, and I would certainly.
I was the
jump
first
on
one to
board.
say Palin would be the running mate.
I would jump on a draft Chris Christie movement in a heartbeat.
I listened to somebody challenged him. Some reporter said, "Well, you're cutting school funding, I think, in New Jersey, and your kids go to private school. What about that?" And he had such a great answer. It shows his mind.
business.
Yeah, that's right. Number one, none of your business. Number two, it's important to our family. We think we want to have religious instruction or religious education part of our child's everyday education.
That's right, and he also said, but I will tell you that I am responsible for the education of every child in the state of New Jersey, and that's why I'm making the choices I'm making, so that I can be sure that every child in the state of New Jersey has an opportunity to get an education.
What I loved about it, it was like quick to the point. It wasn't, how dare you ask a question like that? It was like, frankly, it is none of your business, but boom, boom, boom. And Jack, that's the sort of individual that I think Americans can rally around, be it Democrat.
Because I'll tell you what I think happens, and it happened with Palin, because I'm not the biggest fan of hers, but I think she's gotten a very raw deal. There's people who cannot be elected because of who they are, and then there are people who cannot be elected because of what will be done with them and to them when they enter the arena. And so somebody can have great ideas and a good heart and have the right direction, and I see this with Bachman. It's so obviously going to happen to her that there's no point even testing this. That she will be Palinized, and in fact, probably anybody the Republicans nominate will be. So you almost have to nominate someone who has shown that when they're in the arena, when they are hit with the flake question or the where do your kids go to school or have you stopped beating your wife or whatever, you've got to have people who will handle that, because that's all that's going to happen between now and Election Day. If you're the guy running against the media's darling, the guy they're trying to resuscitate, President Obama.
But you got to have some ideas. It's not good enough to be quick on your feet. You got to have the ideas that make sense and are good for the country. But again, I think
you better have both. You better have the ideas, and you better have the thickest skin ever.
But I think Americans will rally around that person.
Let me ask you this: do you think Giuliani will jump in?
I think these people are all jumping in now because they realize that the president might actually be, despite history favoring the re-election of any president, they smell blood in the water politically. There's a guy named Thaddeus McCotter. He's a congressman from Michigan. We know him. We've had him on the show a few times. He's really kind of a political nobody. Plays a guitar. He's in the House of Representatives band. He just announced he's running for president. Clearly what's going on here is this is a unique opportunity. Barack Obama is coming apart. It's like the Hindenburg pulling into the dock. And so, these people, Rudy Giuliani, his political obituary was already written.
If we have a couple more months, like we've had the last 30 days, this guy is toast.
No, I disagree.
I shouldn't run?
No, about toast, because he is down low. He has no place to go.
There's always time to come back.
That's exactly right. You cannot maintain. He cannot continue to be maintained at these low levels.
I still remember very vividly the Jimmy Carter administration and working and living through all that. And I got to tell you, I see this guy is lower than that, and I don't see it.
Let me take the break. We'll come back with our lightning round, 11:27 on KTSA.